on, WolfPack Nation? Thank you all so much for tuning in here for a crazily exciting episode here. Again, I think this is one that to me is much needed, is much overdue, and I'm much excited for. And I know Greg obviously is wearing his WolfPack Club shirt. One of the biggest supporters out there. I mean, again, you always got to point out his background for those who are tuning in with us on YouTube. So again, we are so excited to welcome the executive director of the WolfPack Club, Ben Broussard. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, guys, I really appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So Ben, I mean, obviously, kind of the goal of today, really, for those who are tuning in with us, kind of what this is for, really, is first of all, you had joined us back in 2020, obviously taking over for the legendary Bobby Purcell, again, that was the executive director for over 30 years. So definitely big shoes to fill for sure. So I figured basically kind of starting off, we'd like to kind of just again, kind of learn a little bit about you in terms of kind of what brought you to NC State, things like that, and then just kind of talk some WolfPack Club, things in terms of like what are the future goals, things like that. So kind of starting off, so I know from your background, you came to us from the University of Colorado, and even before that, actually, you were with LSU, where you actually graduated from as well. So what was kind of the road like? And then, because if I'm not mistaken, the Colorado was your first basically job as the executive director of the fan club, correct?
That's right. 100%. You touched on a few things there that I think we should talk about. First thing is you mentioned Bobby Purcell. So my relationship with Bobby Purcell started about 10 years before I took this job. Really? In our business, he's pretty well known as the Godfather, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that do what I do that worked under Bobby at some point in time. And so I've sat next to Bobby at, 20 conventions where he told me, how amazing the WolfPack Club is, how amazing NC State is, and how great our fan base was. So when they started recruiting for me for this job, Bobby never called me, but he didn't have to. I mean, he had spoke to me for years and years and years about what it was like to be a Wolfpacker and what it was like to live in Raleigh, North Carolina, right? I've got two cousins that live in greater Raleigh, North Carolina. And so when I told them I had this opportunity, it's almost as if they passed out a Chamber of Commerce speech to tell everybody about why this is the best place in America to raise a family. Mm-hmm. So I'd been interested in this job for a long time. But you're right. Me and my wife both went to LSU. We met there. We graduated from there. And then I worked there for 13 years. My last job, vice president of development, which is essentially, the person in charge of all fundraising, but not the president of the organization. We left LSU 2016, 17. Went to Colorado. We needed to experience something different. In our business, you have to see other things to grow, right? You have to know how to do things in a different environment. So we went there and we had a great 3 years there. But when we got the phone call about this place, I mean, this is, I heard people say it and I've now experienced it for 2 years. I mean, we genuinely have, I'd say the most rabid fans in America. I mean, our people, what happens for WolfPack Nation, I mean, it matters, right? It genuinely matters. The SEC has that saying that says it matters more. But I promise you that NC State, it matters to us as much as it does to anybody in America. So we've been here for the last 2 years and loving every bit of it.
Amen. I think you hit it right on the head there, Ben. So absolutely, just praise that to the highest for sure. So the question which I have though, for sure, is obviously again, a lot of people could say, like for example with Debbie Yao, that we were very spoiled, having her as an athletic director for sure. And same thing with Bobby Purcell, we were very spoiled having him as an executive director for sure. To have somebody that was so committed and loyal to NC State like he was. So I mean, you kind of mentioned, obviously, we're going to probably, we'll have two kids probably that will probably make an appearance here and there. Maybe you kind of hear them in the background as well. And you had mentioned as well again how great it is to raise a family in Raleigh. But I mean, for example, I mean, what is your kind of goals? I mean, do you want? I mean, are you somebody that sees yourself, being somebody that commits to NC State for years, or do you see like if an opportunity comes back to go back to your home state of LSU? I mean, like, what's your kind of goals? And again, won't necessarily hold you to it either, but just want to kind of get a sense where your head's at.
Yeah, man, that's a fair question. And yes, both of my daughters are out in the backyard right now blowing bubbles, so you probably will hear more from them.
That's okay.
No, man, I love it here. Yeah, I love it here. This is a special, special place. Like one of the things that I love about this place is there's a lot of places in America where people work really, really hard just so they could have bigger stuff, but here people work really hard so they could spend time with their friends and their family, right? I mean, the front porch environment of Raleigh, North Carolina means a lot to me, right? I mean, that's a thing. Like, your neighbors mean something here, your friends mean something here. I'll stick around at this place as long as they'll have me, right? I've always been one of those people, right, that have aspired to do as good a job as I possibly can where I am. And then if you happen to get noticed and somebody else wants to talk to you because you do a great job, God bless you, right? God bless you. You mentioned a couple things. You mentioned how great Bobby was and how lucky we are. You mentioned how great we were to have Debbie. But listen, man, don't forget, just 3 nights ago in Las Vegas, Boo was recognized as the athletic director of the year. We're very, very fortunate to have Boo Corrigan here in North Carolina.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, Ben. So you came in right at 2020, right as the pandemic was starting to kick in. What kind of challenges did that, not only learning a new job, but then learning it through a pandemic, and then just trying to steer us through with all of the the red tape and the potential debt that we were looking at? How did that affect you just getting on board?
Yeah, man. So keep in mind, when I accepted this job, I probably knew I was taking this job in March, wrapped up some things in April, and then we hit the road in late May to come this way. 3 kids, a pregnant wife, and a golden lab. And we drove from Boulder to Kansas City to Lexington, Kentucky to Raleigh, North Carolina. And I lived in a hotel over by the Crabtree Valley Mall for a couple of months, right? I mean, if it wasn't for Emilio's and the Waffle House over there, my campus, we didn't have anywhere to eat, right?
Yes.
And I say all that because, yeah, man, you're right. It was scary. Right. And it wasn't so much scary. I mean, I knew it was a pandemic. I knew what I was getting into, but I was here a week when Boo and I sat down and Boo said, hey, man, we might not have football. We might have fans for football. We got to figure out a way where we can keep the lights on. And not even so much keep the lights on. I mean, find a way to make sure we can raise the money to send our scholarship athletes to school. Right. I mean, we forget that we were still getting charged their tuition. Right. We had to figure this out. And so to your point, I might be making this up, but I don't think I am. I think we were the only Power 5 school that not only didn't lose money, didn't borrow a bunch of money, right? I think when it was all said and done, we came out a couple $100,000 to the positive, and there's a reason for it. Mm-hmm. Going to back what I said a minute ago about our fans being the most passionate in the country, right? I mean, we formed a group called the Guardian Wolves, which helped us raise about $6 million from some of our better donors.
Wow.
You guys probably all participated, but we asked all of our fans if we could keep their ticket money with us. Right. And the vast majority of them did. Right. They left their ticket money with us, and we used that to pay bills. And then we asked everybody in the WolfPack Club if we could keep their scholarship donation and roll that forward so that we can continue to pay for our student athletes. All that being said, schools like LSU, Ohio State, Florida, I mean, they were 30, 40, $50 million in the hole, right? Taking out loans, going into reserves, borrowing money from their campus. Mm-hmm. We didn't do any of that because our fan base stepped up. And listen, I've said this out loud at all the caravans, but I'll say it again for your audience. My former school where I went to school, where I worked for a while, they ended up going $25-30 million in the hole because their people asked for some of that money back, right? I didn't have one WolfPack Club donor ask for their scholarship gift back. Not one. Right. I mean, that's 12, 13,000 gifts and people that could have taken that money back or could have at least asked for it. But because Charlie Bryant and Bobby Purcell did such a good job of having our fan base understand that what they do is important for our people to get a degree, nobody asked for that money back. And I know a lot of people needed it, but nobody asked for it back.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I love that. And again, because just like you said, all it really comes down to, again, it's such a family environment here. Again, I think that NC State fans, have a bond that few schools can really claim they have. There's just no doubt that, I mean, especially again, that any fan base that has gone through, obviously having a 30-year drought of no championships, all you got is each other sometimes. You got to fight through it and be positive together. And, I love to hear that. Again, I think that's a great quote right there, how you didn't have a single WolfPack Club member ask for their money back. That's amazing. Again, it's and because, again, got to give huge hats off to yourself. And again, obviously Boo as well, again, just to come into the situation like you did and really just go into it head first, and just, hope that things came out good. And I would hope that you would probably say that things came out, amazingly for sure. I mean, I couldn't imagine really a better scenario, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, compared to our peers, we did really, really well.
Yes, no, absolutely. Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
So just to have a little bit of lightness here, literally, you said keeping the lights on. We saw today's new project that was rolled out about the lights. And I know that's something that the WolfPack Club has, their hands in with facilities and all of that. How long have you guys been, working on things like that for Carter Finley? And then, some of the things that you might be excited about here in the near future, because I know there's lots of rumors out there.
Yeah, well, so keep in mind that right when Boo got here, because he's a year ahead of me at the state. So right when Boo got here, he started some work on a master facility plan. And I would say that he probably had Carter Finley, those lights in mind, pretty early on. And I was sitting in my office when they were testing. Our offices are in Vaughn Towers. And I was sitting in my office when they were testing those lights. And it was during the day, right? But you could start to see the red flicker, right? You could start to see the red flicker.
Yeah.
And then I haven't seen it in action yet, but I watched the same video that you guys watched. And I've been in some stadiums that have that, right? Where you can quickly, with those LED lights, change the colors and the environment. Tiger Stadium has it. And when you're flying into Baton Rouge, much like you'll see when you fly into Raleigh, they light it up at night with that red glow or purple in Baton Rouge. And so from, about 30, 40 miles away as you're flying in, you start seeing it off in the distance. And it's going to become a piece of the skyline here in Raleigh. I promise you that. You've got that. Obviously you guys are tracking the work that we're doing in baseball, right? We're trying to get to $15.5 million. We're about, 6 months into our campaign now. And we're just at about $11 million. I've got a couple of things in the hopper that'll get us, I think, a little bit past that. I hope that I can get this. That we can get this thing done before football season, so we can celebrate that success. I see that baseball bat right there behind you, so I know you care. But from our standpoint, you'll see the very same thing in baseball, right? We're going to replace those old static lights with the LED lights. So, just imagine. Almost like a scene from The Natural, right? When someone hits their next home run, if it's a night game and you can flash the red and the white lights, you get a big recruit into town. That kind of stuff makes a difference, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to see those upgrades at Carter Finley. Baseball, the first phase, which we've already raised all the money for, new seats in the stands. Are going to put a new field down because that field is too old. It's not draining right. New foul poles, brand new scoreboard. Look at the one that Arkansas has, right? And that's what we're looking at Doak. And then those new lights, and then that next season, assuming that I can do my job and raise the rest of that money, is when we get that performance area for our players, right? And so, if you take a look right now, and I don't say this in any disrespect to our stadium, but there's high schools with better facilities that we have for our players right now, right? It just is what it is. Our indoor batting cage is not great, right? There's no indoor pitching. The medical area is not awesome. The locker room's probably smaller than Gibbons. There's a lot that we need to do, right? And listen, you saw it. This past year we recruited a couple of great players in the transfer portal, and we lost one of them who's a really good player, right? Tommy transferred, and people ask me, like, why would he transfer to LSU? And I tell them, man, it's some of that's got to be the facilities, right? Some of that's got to be what he gets to train in day in and day out. And once we have what we're going to have next year, I don't think that's going to be near as big an issue, right? Those facilities will be top-notch, plenty good enough to get a kid who grows up in Clayton, North Carolina, who wants to play big league baseball to stay in Raleigh and to get it done. So there's a lot of stuff coming. We're a good ways there, but we still need some help.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And, because one of the things, too, that I wanted to ask you about that I was definitely very curious is I know that obviously NC State over the last 365 days has had some run-ins with, a certain organization that should not be named. And, we've had a lot of fans that have come to us saying, hey, listen, I want to be involved. I want to donate, specifically towards the pack, towards the Doak Field renovations. But, I just want to know, what's going on, to answer it. Because it seems like that no matter what we're doing, whether, even though we've done it the right way, that we're still getting, for lack of a better term, screwed. And it's just so like, so because I'm sure I'm sure that you're getting voicemails and emails left and right about stuff like that. So, I mean, what is your typical kind of response, to some of those external things that are not really NC State, but affect NC State kind of deal?
Well, each of them are different, right? I mean, let's just go all the way back to what happened in Omaha, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened in Omaha was unfortunate. But listen, we had a rule book going in, right? It told us if you have this many people test positive for COVID, we're going to test them all, right? And if you have a cluster, right, they're kicking you out. What a lot of people don't know, and I'm sharing his business some, but behind the scenes, I mean, Boo was fighting like hell. Right. But I mean, it wasn't a winnable fight. Right? There's nothing we could have possibly done other than test positive and test negative. And we just didn't do it. Right. It's unfortunate because I think we'd have won a national championship otherwise.
Yes.
So that happened. And so, it's unfortunate. Yes. Did we get screwed? I mean, maybe, but there was nobody that had an axe to grind against us. It was just an unfortunate set of circumstances.
Yes.
The bowl game in San Diego, that's different. Right. I mean, that's different. I don't think the NCAA screwed us, but I sure as hell don't think UCLA did us any favors. Right. I mean, let's just be honest about that. Right. I mean, could they have played that football game? You're damn right they could have. Right. I mean, listen, I don't know if you guys saw it, but did you guys happen to watch the bowl game that LSU played in? They started a wide receiver at quarterback.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, they got their teeth kicked in by a team they would normally beat. Right. But their fans were proud of them. We're proud of them because they gave it their best, much like we were proud of our guys in Omaha. Right, because they gave it their best. Highfield went 3 for 4. Right,
absolutely.
I mean, it's that sort of a deal.
Yes.
So I do think we got screwed for the Holiday Bowl, but not by the NCAA. Right. I think that's a different culprit altogether. Sure. Now, where I do think you might have a little bit of an axe to grind is our women getting sent to Connecticut. Now, I have a really hard time in my mind rationalizing any way possible that basketball team gets sent there when Connecticut now has their best player back and they're playing in front of 95% of the fans. Now, could we have beat them? Sure. Right? Sure. Yeah. And I've heard Wes say this out loud that, we get to play the ACC finals in Greensboro a lot. Right? And that he's true. That's 100% right. Yeah. But that one right there didn't sit well with me.
No.
Yeah. Well, but I would counter West there going, well, so does North Carolina, so does Duke, so does Wake Forest.
No doubt.
Virginia Tech ain't too far away either. So, but his point's taken though.
No. Yeah. So, but focusing, WolfPack Club, obviously one of the recent things that's kind of come up as well is obviously, the new Pack of Wolves collective. And again, pretty much every university. I saw ECU recently just started their own collective as well. It's a common thing now, with the NIL the way it is. So, I'm sure, kind of coming off is that, with people that don't really know a lot about the Pack of Wolves, one of the biggest questions that you hear is, well, so am I supposed to either donate my money to the WolfPack Club or donate my money to the Pack of Wolves? And, it's kind of an educational thing there. But, what's your kind of stance, when it comes to the Pack of Wolves, and then when people ask you questions such as that, what's your kind of typical response to it?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. 1 year ago, it didn't make any difference, right? We didn't need to, but now that the NCAA allows it, I mean, I think it's mission critical that we can do both. But let me say a couple of things. If there's someone out there that says, I've got $1,000 that I can support NC State with, and currently that $1,000 goes to the WolfPack Club. And keep in mind, we use that to send our student athletes to school. But if I can't afford to pay the scholarship bill and send our student athletes to school, the NIL money doesn't do us a whole lot of good. So I tell everybody, if you can afford to do both, you should. You really should, right? I mean, if you've got extra money that you can do above and beyond what you pay for your tickets and your donation and whatnot, then by all means, you should do that, right? Everybody that's a significant donor or scholarship donor to us, I ask them to at least maintain what they do and then go above and beyond, because these days they're both very necessary, right? Very necessary.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. No, again, it's an option, which just like you said, that if we are to compete, in sports in general, athletics in general, that is something that we had to do. It's just really kind of an educational thing. And even, from talking to Pack of Wolves people, they understood that it was going to take some time to educate, the public in terms of, what the differences are, and then, how to kind of, look at it per se. So absolutely. So with that being said, we'll kind of take a pause right there. Again, when we'll end part 1 right here, and we'll pick things up here with part 2 here. But make sure, again, if you haven't already, WolfPack Nation, if you aren't already a member of the WolfPack Club, make sure to go and check them out on their website. And again, we can have all the description tests, all the all the details about that in our description for sure. So that way you can go and check that out. Again, it's reasonable prices. It goes a long way, just like Ben said, to supporting our student athletes, our coaches, and again, just the program that we know and love for sure. And if you want the best for it, then if you can't afford it, then please by all means, it'd be greatly appreciated. Anything else, Ben, at all that I should add in there? I want to make sure. Anything else I need to add in?
No, I appreciate the plug and the opportunity. This is what I tell everybody that is an NC State fan anywhere. There shouldn't be anybody that graduated from NC State that cares about athletics that's not a member of the WolfPack Club, right? It's $120 to be a member, and if that's not in the budget, I mean, you can do whatever you need to do it to support it. Our scholarship bill is never going to go down. Right. I mean, it's always going to go up. We're going to need to increase what we do on that annual fund. Just recently, the other day, I was speaking to a guy and he was telling me about his tailgate group. And he said something out loud that there's 32 people that participate in this tailgate and only 2 of them are WolfPack Club members. And I said, buddy, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I said, that makes no sense at all. I said, each and every one of you should, because you're allowing us to recruit and retain the best student athletes and allow them to get a degree from arguably one of the best public institutions in America.
Amen.
So from that standpoint, anybody that hears this that's not a WolfPack Club member, understand that $1 or $1 million, it's all going directly to supporting, educating our student athletes. So I would implore you to join.
Amen. Amen. Love it. Well, thank you all so much again for tuning in for part 1 here. We'll see y'all for part 2 as we continue this conversation. As always, go Pack, y'all.